Welcome to the deep dive. So, if you're listening, chances are you're a pretty seasoned security professional, maybe leading teams, handling complex risks, perhaps you've got that law enforcement or military background,
Hmm.
and you've probably thought about the ASIS International CPP certification.
Mm.
You definitely have years of real-world experience, under your belt.
Right.
But actually passing this exam, that takes a bit more. It needs a strategy.
That is exactly what we're digging into today. We've looked at this expert strategy, sort of designed for people just like you, experienced pros. And the big idea isn't just studying harder.
No.
It's about studying smarter, applying a really strategic framework to the knowledge you already possess,
Yeah.
and, crucially, figuring out where to focus your energy.
Right. So our mission here is to really distill those core steps, the mindset shifts that this source talks about. We want to show you how to build right on top of all that great experience you've already got. Okay, let's jump into the strategy itself, starting with step 1, according to the source.
Step 1, yeah, right off the bat, define your strategic WHY. The source really hammers this home. It's not enough to just want the letters after your name on, say, LinkedIn.
Right, that won't cut it, usually.
Not for the kind of effort this takes, no.
So it's got to be something, well, bigger, something genuinely strategic for where you want to go in your career.
Exactly.
Like maybe you're looking at that C-suite security leadership position.
Right.
Or perhaps you want to move from field ops into something like global consulting.
Or maybe it's just about getting that specific, recognized credibility you need for, managing those big multinational accounts or complex portfolios.
Okay.
And that's really the power of getting clear on that why. It gives your whole study process a purpose. It makes sure you're not just spinning your wheels.
No wasted effort.
No wasted motion. Because every choice you make about how you prepare ties back to that bigger goal. It keeps you focused, which, let's face it, is vital when you're juggling a demanding job already. And, fundamentally, it connects the certification directly to a real career return on investment. Makes it tangible.
So the advice here is before you even crack open a study guide, you really need to ask yourself, what will getting the CPP actually do for my career? Think like 6 months from now, 2 years, maybe even 10 years out. And this might feel a bit different, actually. Write it down.
Yeah, that clarity becomes your guidepost, your compass for all the prep decisions that follow.
Okay, makes sense. So once you've got that strategic why locked in.
Then the next critical step, according to the source, is mapping your existing experience directly against the 7 domains of the CPP exam.
Right, the 7 key areas.
Yeah, security principles and practices, business principles and practices, investigations, personnel security, physical security, information security, and crisis management. All 7.
And this isn't just about, like, ticking boxes next to the names. It's about doing a really honest, maybe even kind of humbling self-audit based on your actual time in the field. Where are you genuinely strong? And just as importantly, where do you have less direct experience or maybe just feel less confident?
This source uses a great example here. Someone, say, with a strong military or police background, they're probably going to be solid on physical security, investigations, maybe crisis management.
Sure, that makes sense.
But they might look at, say, information security frameworks or specific business finance principles relevant to security and realize, okay, I need to put some real time in here. Stuff that wasn't part of their day-to-day,
And that self-assessment, that honest look, that becomes the bedrock of your whole prep plan.
Absolutely.
The strategic move is building your study schedule and focusing your limited time and energy precisely on those gaps you found. And the source is pretty blunt about this. It says, skipping this honest self-check is exactly where most experts fail.
Wow.
They kind of assume their years of experience cover everything, but the exam is structured, it's comprehensive, and it will find those blind spots if you haven't looked for them yourself first.
Right, which leads perfectly into the next step,
Yeah.
building a tactical study framework.
Yeah.
Because the source points out, experienced people often fail this exam, not because they lack security knowledge fundamentally.
No, it's not that.
It's because they lack a strategy for their preparation. Their time is limited, and they don't use it effectively.
Okay, so you need the basics, obviously. The official ASIS CPP study guide, got to have that.
Essential.
And the protection of assets volumes, the POAs, yeah, they're dense.
They are definitely dense, but the source calls them gold for a reason. They contain that foundational knowledge the exam is built on.
Right, but it's not just about the books.
No, not at all. It's about layering in tools that actually fit your life, your schedule. The source mentions things like digital flashcard apps, maybe an Anki deck, for drilling concepts on your commute or during a lunch break. They suggest setting up even a simple spreadsheet, organized by those 7 domains maybe, to track the weak spots you found in your audit and see how you're progressing.
Okay, visual progress.
And, critically, accountability. Finding a study buddy, joining one of those LinkedIn CPP prep groups, maybe forming a small study squad, it helps keep you on track.
And the idea isn't just clocking hours, right? The source says you should tie your study time to specific outcomes, domain-based goals.
Exactly. Like, okay, by Friday, I need to have a solid grasp on the key concepts in personnel security.
Right.
Break it down into manageable chunks. Own that schedule.
Yeah.
And remember, the frame isn't just, I need to pass this test. The source puts it as, you're preparing to think and lead like a certified professional.
That thinking and leading part,
Yeah.
that seems crucial. Which brings us to step 4, right? Something easily missed.
Usually missed. Often. The exam isn't just testing if you can recall facts. It's critically looking at how you think, how you make judgment calls in complex, messy, real-world type security scenarios.
Ah, okay. So this is where those scenario-based questions really come into play.
Precisely. They put you in the hot seat. You're the decision maker under pressure.
The source had a good example. Like, you're the CSO. You've got a major cyber attack hitting your systems.
Right.
And at the exact same time, there's a physical intrusion happening at a key facility. What do you do first? What gets priority? Where do the resources go now?
And, like the source says, there's often no single, easy textbook answer to that kind of thing.
No kidding.
They're designed specifically to test your strategic decision-making process. So how do you get better at that? Well, you practice thinking through scenarios. You use resources like the ASIS body of knowledge or relevant white papers, not just for facts, but to understand the principles and frameworks that guide those high-level decisions.
That's a significant shift in perspective from just memorizing stuff. So how do you actually practice that specific executive-level thinking mindset?
The source suggests framing every practice question, every scenario, through the lens of a security executive. Constantly ask yourself, okay, what would a leader at this level prioritize? What would they decide here?
So it's different from how maybe a technician on the ground would approach it, focusing just on the technical fix.
Completely different. Or even a supervisor focused only on the immediate operational tasks. This ability to step back, see the bigger strategic picture. That, according to the source, is what really separates those who just pass from those who are genuinely ready to lead at that certified level.
Wow. Okay, that's a key insight. Which leads us then to the final step, number 5.
Step 5. Simulate the real exam. You absolutely have to train under game day conditions.
Makes sense.
The exam itself is a beast. 225 multiple choice questions. You got a tight 3-hour window. And importantly, the questions aren't spread evenly across the domains. Some areas carry more weight.
And whether you take it at a Pearson VUE Center or you're doing the remote proctored option, you have got to get comfortable operating under that pressure, under those constraints.
Absolutely. The source strongly recommends building dedicated simulation practice into your prep. Actually sit down. Set a timer for the full 3 hours.
The whole duration.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
And take full-length mock exams. Use practice questions from good, trusted sources, ones that mimic the style and the difficulty level of the real exam.
And be careful, right? The source warns about just using those question dumps you find online.
Yeah, be really wary of those. They might give you answers, but they won't actually build that executive thinking skill or test if you truly understand the concepts. You need to practice the whole process.
Like getting used to flagging questions you're unsure about and circling back.
Exactly. Managing your pacing so you don't run out of time.
Yeah.
And maybe most importantly, learning to stay calm and focused when the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
Your mindset walking into that exam room or logging in remotely should be, okay, I've seen this format, I've practiced this timing, I'm ready for this.
And one last really practical but super important tip from the source for exam day.
Oh, yeah.
Get enough sleep the night before. You cannot afford to be mentally foggy when you need 3 solid hours of sharp strategic thinking.
So true. Don't underestimate the basics.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the source kind of brings it all back home. Those years you've already put in the field, leading, navigating crises, that was the really hard work.
That's the foundation.
That's the foundation.
Yeah.
The CPP, if you approach it strategically with this kind of framework, it's the next logical step to formally validate that leadership and set yourself up for whatever's next in your career.
Okay, so a quick recap of this expert strategy we've unpacked. First, really nail down your strategic WHY. Second, do that honest audit of your experience against the 7 domains. Third, build a tactical study framework based on that audit.
Right.
Fourth, consciously sharpen that executive level thinking. And fifth, simulate the real exam environment relentlessly.
You've already got the invaluable experience.
Yeah.
This strategy is just about focusing it, packaging it effectively for this specific CPP challenge.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe chew on after this deep dive. How might consciously practicing this executive level thinking, specifically because you're preparing for an exam, how might that actually change the way you tackle your real-world security problems day to day, even before you get the letters after your name?
Yeah, that's something interesting to consider. How does the prep itself change you?
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.